Great. Thanks everybody for joining tonight. Appreciate your time. And as one of the, if not the biggest group of stakeholders in our community, I certainly appreciate you guys tuning in to hear what sort of updates we've got for you moving forward and for the rest of the season in this weird COVID year. Hopefully any athletes on the line or parents of athletes, everyone's been back on snow and is able to do what we all want to be doing at this time of year. So I'm glad that we're at least able to talk about being back on snow, so that's good. So tonight's call is U19 FIS focused. So we've invited graduating U16 athletes, families, as well as current FIS athletes from across the province. So there's quite a mix of divisions represented on the line, as well as probably across North America, if not maybe the world. We have some of our FIS athletes tuning in. So thanks everybody for your time. Apologies if anyone had any difficulty registering for the sessions. For some reason, our event calendar doesn't interact well with iPhones. We've just recently found out. So if you are trying to register for anything on our event calendar, just go to your computer or another device if you do have an iPhone. So apologies for that. We are recording this session, so it'll be available to view if you're not able to stick with us the whole time, or if you jump on late, it'll be on our YouTube channel. And I'll also link it in the event calendar. So you can go to the event calendar and click on the recording there as well. And we're hoping to repeat these sessions again in March when we have a little bit of information. I'm not going to make any promises. We have all the answers for you tonight on what the rest of our season is going to look like and what our programs are going to look like in the off season and moving forward for next year. We just wanted to take the opportunity to connect and engage with you guys, some of the most engaged families we have in our sport. And thanks for sticking with alpine ski racing with us this season. We know it's been challenging on all fronts. So I'm going to let Bill take us through the beginning of a bit of a presentation for you. And then I'll talk a little bit about education, and then Kip will talk to us about some of the programming. So I'll just share my screen here. So Bill, you're on mute.
Okay, guess that means I can go.
Yeah, if you're ready.
I am ready.
Okay.
Well, hello everybody. Just to reiterate a little bit what Robin said, thanks very much for joining. This is the third one we've done. We've done a U14 and a U16 parent call already, and it's I think I said it in the last calls, and I apologize. Some of this might be a little bit repeated what I have to say in the next few minutes here, but if you were on other calls because you have younger kids or decided to do 2 calls. But it is really great to see so many people engaged. Normally, I said last night, normally we're in a pretty loud clubhouse on a Saturday morning, sometime between when, you know, inspection closes and first run, to try and get through a quick parent meeting with a slideshow, and you know, with 20 or 30 people. And it's great to have larger numbers on a platform like this. And you know, if there's a benefit from COVID, I guess it's being able to reach people through Zoom, and it's great. So thanks very much for everybody for being here. And we got a few people on the call here. Myself, I'm Bill Reeves, the Executive Director at Alpine Ontario. We have our High Performance Director, Kip Harrington, on the line. Robin Skinner, who was just speaking, is Competition Director. Cam Stephen is the Ontario Ski Team Women's Coach. He's on the line as well. Cam McKenzie, Ontario Ski Team Men's Coach. Mary Beth Hempel, who joined the staff this year as an Ontario Team Assistant Coach. And of course, Jacques Reed, who's the Southern Ontario Division Ski Team Coach, Head Coach. So I think by now, throughout your career, you may have met all of the folks on the line here before, but it's great to have them, and they've all had a lot of input in what we're about to say here coming up. So next slide there, Robin. There we go. So the agenda tonight, Robin went through it a little bit. I'm going to go through a little bit about who we are and what Alpine Ontario does. If you've heard it before, again, I apologize, but I think it's important to kind of give a little bit of a broad picture of what we're doing. Also a broad picture, a little bit of a past story of how COVID has impacted Alpine Ontario and other sports organizations across the country, and sort of what our response was and other provinces' response was with the COVID pandemic. As Robin said, we'll go through a little bit of education and ski racing, some of our challenges moving forward, what it's like to be in U19 and FIS, a little bit of a chat about our AOA high performance program, and then also a bit of a discussion of what the remainder of the season looks like. So that's the agenda for this evening, and it'll be great to have some feedback. So Alpine Ontario, I mean, a lot of people on the call have been involved with Alpine Ontario now since kids were a little bit younger. As an organization, it's changed a lot in the last 5 or 6 years. We've taken on a lot more. I think coaching and ski racing has changed. It involves a lot more with fitness and testing and training and the things that we do. We've taken on coach education, so we deliver all the coach education. So there's a lot of things that we do that we haven't done in the last, that we never did before. So it's important, I think, to go through a lot of that. We're no different than hockey and soccer and baseball. We're the recognized provincial sport organization in the province, and we play an important role in the sports system, by developing the sport of ski racing across Ontario. We want to encourage participation in recreational and competitive programs. And that's the basic landscape of who we are. We want to provide leadership and structure for high quality, sustainable and affordable programming, communicate the competitive and recreational lifestyle benefits of ski racing to the community. That's that last statement, that's our mission. And there's a lot of facets that go into that mission. Kip later on in the program will talk about some of our goals, what our end goal is for high performance. And where we want to go to help our nation be a top contending ski nation around the world. So Kip may go through some of those a little bit later on. So next slide, please, Robin. We operate obviously under a national sport organization of Alpine Canada. We provide the competitive pathway for athlete development from U8 to World Junior Championships. We provide the safety standards for training and racing environments. AOA provides policy for concussion awareness, injury prevention, and of course, the safe return to sport after injury. We provide safe sport programs to keep a child safe from abuse, harassment, and bullying. As I said before, we certify and we train and recruit coaches, officials, and volunteers. We also host provincial, national, international events like the provincial championships, national championships at U16 level, and the NORAM races, which have been quite successful in the last couple of years. So we've all been to those. I think one of our biggest missions that we do is we develop and operate the provincial teams, including the HP programs at U16 and U19, the divisional teams, and our flagship, the Ontario ski team. So that's kind of the check marks of what we do. There is more on governance and things like that, but that's mainly it's a pretty broad landscape to do. So next slide, Robin. How does it benefit your racer? Well, from all ages, from whether they're U8 to U19, keeps your child safe, provides your coaches with the tools to inspire your child to excel, provide your child the opportunity to have fun, challenge themselves, and pursue ski racing to the highest level. And I think become tomorrow's leaders and skiers for life is probably some of the biggest things. We all wish that our athletes can go as far down the road as their skills and their talent and their determination take them. And we are here to support them, but inevitably we also want them to be skiers for life down the road and pass that on to the next crew. It's a weird balance of individual and team sport, but it's a great sport that we're all involved in. So I think the biggest part to talk about a little bit here is just a bit of a COVID update. This map, although it might be a little bit outdated now because it was pulled a week ago, but I don't think too much has changed really in the map. This is a map of all the health units in the province. And, you see a lot of red on there. You see a lot of orange. You see a little bit of yellow. Two bright stars of green over there. What it means is that, you know, most ski hills are open. There are some that are not in the province. So challenges still remain because of the color codes that we're in and the problems that COVID sort of presents. Any club that has been able to has started their programs. I think one thing that we've tried to make clear in the last little while is that it's all upon us really to try and keep these ski hills open. We have a great responsibility as far as, you know, athletes and parents and clubs and spectators, that we provide the example to try and, you know, be safe, be smart, have great behavior when we show up at the ski hill, so that we, you know, that the ski hills can stay open. So that's you know, there's a link there from the Canadian Ski Council with the Ski Well Be Well document, which we've shared in the past. But that's where we are. So there's still some challenges that to remain, but we are open, which is great. We're looking forward to you know, some racing here in the near future, which would be pretty good. Robin, next slide. Some of the things, just a few statistics, a little bit about how COVID has impacted sport organizations across the country, not just Ontario. You know, the Canadian Tire Jump Step Foundation and Ipsos did a research survey a couple weeks ago. It went to clubs all across the country. It went to organizations and provincial sport organizations like BC Alpine, Alberta Alpine, Skibec, and other sports as well. And it did a survey about, you know, what the impact of COVID on those sport organizations were. And so there's a few, you know, telling tales that make it a little bit of a challenge. You know, 52% of those surveyed, you know, are concerned about the possibility of permanent closure amid COVID. 3 in 10 are temporarily closed, while another 64% are trying to run modified programs. Organizations report that their operating budget has been slashed by 49% on average. But here's 10% say that they are already bankrupt, with another 26% facing bankruptcy. You know, if conditions don't change, many say they'll be closed in the next 6 months. You know, and so I think that provides a pretty stark picture of some of the situations that all PSOs are facing across the country with inactivity. You know, there's some sports, you know, I mentioned soccer earlier as far as a comparable PSO, that they're about to go into their second year of not knowing what programs that they can do. You know, when the pandemic hit last March, it was right at the time in their peak registration system, and they haven't really been able to do anything for about a year. So that we're looking at the potential of being on hill and training and running some races, hopefully in the next month, 6 weeks here, is a pretty big positive. So we've worked hard to get there. So that's what we're working towards. You know, what the survey also involved parents, and the bottom 3 lines on the statistics there are the ones that, you know, make us, you know, kind of hit us in the heart, and probably hit most parents in the heart too a little bit. You know, 74% of kids say they're feeling lonely and isolated from COVID. 64% say kids are finding it hard to reduce stress and anxiety. 69% say kids are showing signs of being less physically fit. You know, I think a lot of our athletes train a lot through the off season and through the fall, and have trained a lot now. So I think we've worked hard on being physically fit, but those 3 points at the bottom there, you know, that's sort of what drives us for the need to try and get kids involved and kids going and get as much training and racing opportunities as we possibly can. Sort of the motivator, I would say. So a little bit of impact of what's happened with AOA and some of the actions we've taken to put ourselves in a good position. You know, COVID obviously hit in March last year. We all know that. It's coming up on a year. We try not to be reminded. You know, obviously all the remaining races were canceled. U14 finals, U16 nationals were stopped about 2/3 of the way through. Any of the FIS races in the spring series were canceled, obviously. Organizationally, we lost about $100,000 in revenue from canceled events. And the annual fundraiser, about $35,000 that didn't occur either. So, you know, we faced a pretty big working capital deficiency at the end of last year. And so we took a lot of actions to make sure that we were in as good a position as we are now. We still have some challenges for sure. You know, we had to reduce staff from 10 to 5 full-time employees. We've applied for any federal government funding that's available. Since March, Our finance committee with the Board of Alpine Ontario, instead of meeting monthly, has been meeting weekly, and we've managed to get all of our put in place practices that make us viable and help us to remain viable. So, our biggest creditor that we've had has been Alpine Canada, and they've been crucial in helping us work out to make sure that we can pay them back, and we've paid all our member clubs back from the 1920 season, and we've done a lot of different things to try and get where we are. We've had to, one of the challenges that we had because of a lack of revenue this year from membership fees is we did have to go out and try and fundraise a significant amount of money to keep the Ontario ski team going. We've had some great success there, which is a testament to a lot of the people involved with the team and from our stakeholders like the folks on the call here today to try and raise money to keep them going, and we've managed to do that. We still got a little bit of a ways to go, but we're getting there. One of our big roles too, when I talked about earlier, is to find grants. In any normal year, we apply for grants, whether it's a sport hosting grant to run NORAMs and the like. This year, we have applied for a number of grants just to try and access as many funds to keep our program going. It's not enough to keep the doors open. We want to make sure that we're still investing in coaching. We're still investing in programming that we have. We have lofty goals in the next little while that Kip will go through, and they're very attainable. And we've worked hard to get to a point with our HP programming and stuff that we need to keep going. So we've gone after big grants from the Trillium Foundation, like the Resilient Communities Fund, sport hosting grants. Again, that was actually, we had a successful completion of a sport hosting grant for the NORAMs that were to have taken place a couple weeks back. But we got that, and they'll allow us to take that grant into next year. We've gone after Sport Canada funds, even the Canada Summer Jobs Program, and of course, Jumpstart has a foundation that they've launched in coordination with the survey that they put out. One of the other big things, which Kip will talk about a little bit, is we've also presented our high performance goals to the Ontario High Performance Sports Initiative, which is really a game-changing thing for us. We had a great presentation that involved Alpine Canada and ourselves and quite a few people from the Canadian Sports Institute of Ontario. So we're looking forward to finding out the results of that next week, but we're confident that we're going to have some great funding come out of that too, which will take our programs to another level. I think now as we look towards getting back on hill now and people being able to train and FIS programs starting back up again. Last May, we started, in coordination with a lot of clubs, saying, how do we return to our sport safely? And so we have 3 guiding principles that we've had to try and return to sport. And that's obviously the health and safety of all of our participants and health, and make sure we follow all the local protocols and safety protocols throughout the province. Providing quality training environments, and community education of our clubs, coaches, and officials. Out of those three guiding principles, our safety protocols that have come out of that, we've had a return to sport document that we put out, return to competition protocols that we put out, return to learn for all of our coach education courses that we offer throughout the year. There's COVID mitigation plans for each project that we do, whether it's a U16 camp, or an Ontario ski team camp, a COVID attestation system so that we can track and trace any occurrences of COVID throughout our sport. There's also some safe sport things that we've had to do and initiate, and also we brought online our new snow reg online registration system, which allows us to track and do COVID attestations there. So there's a lot of work that we've done to be able to get to this point. We thought we were at this point in December, but clearly we got shut down for a little while there by the province. So, and through all of this, it would, goes without saying that our alignment with ACA has been quite good. It's been strained in the past, but we've had a great relationship with Alpine Canada in the last year, especially. There's been weekly national update calls on everything from athletic development to calendaring to coach education, to being able to identify high performance athletes. So there's been a lot of work that's gone on, you know, from top to bottom, which is good to see. So that, you know, as much negative as COVID has done, as much stress as it's cost and delay that it's cost, there's been some very positive things that have come out of the last 11 months, I would say, as well. So next slide.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, I think that's it for me. Yeah.
You know, something I'll mention too, if you guys do have questions throughout, you just can't wait, you can type them into the chat and we'll address them when we get to the end. We've only got about, I don't know, half a dozen more slides to go here, so you'll have an opportunity to ask some questions. So I'm briefly just going to cover education. If any of you on the line have been part of the U16 HPP program, U19 HPP program before, you'll know about many of these options, if not all. But we do have some schools and academies out there that support sport, you know, being done concurrently with schooling. And we've listed 3 here: Bill Carruthers in Markham, Richmond Hill area, I believe, National Ski Academy and Pre-River Academy in Collingwood. Those are just a few. And at the end of the presentation, I've got a link up for you to our education document, which is an 80-page document made about 3 or 4 years ago. Just putting all content to do with education and alpine ski racing in Ontario in there for you. Some athletes are exploring the 5-year high school option in a split semester, and some have done that pretty successfully as ski racers in Ontario. Blended learnings being a term that we're all getting used to, especially in a pandemic year where kids have the choice, families have the choice of online or in person, or a blended version, which, you know, could be an opportunity for athletes in high performance sport, that they could elect to do online learning and continue with their sport pursuits. So that could be something that is helpful for us now and in the future. And summer school, as always, an option. We've got a couple teachers within the community here in Ontario that are offering summer school online courses. Kevin Goslin, who's been with the U16 high performance program for the last 4 years, he's a coach, as well as a teacher and a parent of an athlete on the Ontario ski team and a former athlete himself. Has done some online courses for grade 10s over the last 3 or 4 summers with us. And we're also going to have some options for some grade 11 and 12 courses as well in the summer. So we'll share that content with everyone as it comes up. I believe Kevin wants to start his program in May through August, and allows kids to just get some credits out of the way to lighten their load in the school season, so they can focus on a little bit more training and travel. So it's something that we're happy to help support and share information with everyone on in regard to their journey through alpine ski racing and balancing education at the same time. It's certainly been done, and it'll continue to be done, but it is a struggle. It's a lot for kids, but we see a lot of kids successfully balance both of them and go on to lead really successful lives as individuals, no matter how far they take alpine ski racing. So it is possible, and we've got lots of resources to share with you on that. Yep, I'm going to let you take it away now.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you all on another Zoom meeting. I will talk about the programming a little bit. First, a bit about the challenges. As you probably all know, we have been the only region in the world, like of all the ski racing nations in the world, Canada is the only one that hasn't been hosting ski races, and not just World Cup at every level. And I'm sure that hasn't been lost on you, and it is quite frustrating. You know, the comment has come up, or let's say maybe we've been asked a few times what we have done, or, you know, whether or not we lobbied, and I'd like to assure you all that we have. It's a little bit of the challenge in Ontario specifically is the way our ministry is set up. We don't have a Ministry of Sport. We have a Ministry of Sport, Culture, and Tourism. And so it is a deputy minister of sport that we can get a hold of, and we have spoken to him, but really it's all trumped by health authority. And we are not COVID deniers, and we understand the risk. We take it very seriously, but it's interesting that every nation in the world that has alpine ski programs of ski racing, and those nations have varying degrees of success dealing with the virus, and some have been lax and challenged, some have been quite strict, yet they all prioritize youth and sport. So we've done everything we can. One of the great things, well, the silver linings with the way our ministry is set up, Quebec and BC, Alberta have ministries of sport that have directly told them, you can or you cannot race. And they've all been told they cannot race. We basically, as long as we are in certain zones, they don't distinguish between training and competition. As long as we can operate within the guidelines and the group size restrictions. So now that we are back on snow, we are optimistic that we will be able to host races. And I will touch wood because things can change, but at the moment we are proceeding. We understand that it's not ideal, but we feel that it's extremely important to get everyone back competing, and we feel that we can do it safely. We'll start with a very small controlled event next week, 3rd and the 4th on a simple hill with a limited number of racers, and proceed from there. The other provinces are very interested in coming to our races if we should be able to do this, but we just don't know if that's possible. And if there are racers also in Ontario that are around, current and former NCAA racers, a couple that have retired, like Phil Brown and Emma Woodhouse, that were assisting get back on track to help out with the penalties of the races, if that is something you're keeping track of. So we feel that even if we are racing only with Ontario athletes, that we should be able to have good opportunities for the kids. We will have some challenges with how we select our various programs, and we're really not alone in this. We've yet to see a criteria from Alpine Canada. All of the other sports are facing similar challenges. How do you identify athletes? How do you select? What is the process if you can't compete? So we hope to have some clarity on that for everyone very soon. At the moment, we're focused on getting back on snow training and having some competitions. Should we be able to have competitions, I think it will help for sure, but we do need to look at some other avenues as well to bring athletes together to train, and we'll be looking at that. Some of the things that other provinces are doing are, I know Quebec is having a camp March 8th to 18th, just to train together and look at who's coming up, largely because they can't race. I was speaking with my BC compatriot today and asked him, how will you select your provincial ski team? And he said, I have no idea. Someone has asked, where does the number 20% come from? This is not necessarily a statistic of just ski racing, but speaking with the Deputy Minister of Sport, in their studies, they've had across multiple sports, a number that's come up is up to 20% of athletes are leaving. They're going to the US, they're going to other provinces, they're going to Europe. And we really want to keep our athletes here. But at the same time, I'm not going to criticize anyone for doing what they can do, for their kids and in pursuit of their dream. So one of the reasons we want to keep athletes in Ontario is because I sincerely believe we can do a better job, and we can provide great support. But I hope to have some clarity on the programming in the next weeks. Next slide, please. So for those of you that are maybe U16 parents or are looking at this and don't currently have athletes racing FIS, all FIS is basically it's the governing body internationally that governs ski racing. When racers hit 16 years old, they do have subsequent age categories like U18, U21, and so on, but they're in an open category. So they start with 999 points, and this gives them the world ranking in any given discipline. And the goal is to lower your points in each discipline through racing. Some of the things with FIS racing is athletes coming into U16 feel and it seems like a good time to leave, but it really is the time when they start to mature and hit an age where the sport starts to make a lot more sense, and they get a lot better at it, and they develop the tools to really enjoy it and make the most of all those years of hard work. And also, the teams end up being a little smaller. For the serious athletes, for sure, there's the process of qualification. There can be pressure, but it's not like U16 O Cup racing in the sense of constantly qualifying for the next event. So it's a time when they join a smaller team. They travel a little bit more in the winter, but not necessarily a ton more. And a lot of them really find it rewarding. And I would recommend to anyone that's taken it this far, from up to U16, to take the step and let their son or daughter try FIS racing. There are multiple options there, clubs, academies. So these are our goals, and this might seem a little fantastical given a lot of people haven't even been on snow, but we, as Bill said, just made a presentation to the Ontario High Performance Sports Initiative Committee. That program has been dormant for a few years since the last government came in, but it's back. So this has been our first opportunity, at least since I've been involved again, to make this presentation. Our primary goals, well, actually, I should say first that any provincial sport organization has really clear metrics and guidelines, within the Sport Canada framework and by the government of Ontario. And the three pillars are grassroots development and high performance, and these are pillars. So, the focus on high performance is not an abstraction. It's something that's very much encouraged in our sports system and very much tied to the identity of a provincial sport organization. So obviously grassroots, that's in the clubs by its very nature, and to a large extent development. And our job is to work with Alpine Canada to provide turnkey tools for the clubs, to work with coach education. And then at a certain point, we run high performance programming. And so we've been working on a plan for multiple years, and we were set to try to move that forward this year. And obviously COVID threw us some curveballs that we're going to have to deal with, but our goals are to develop World Junior Champions and North American Cup medalists by 2023. Why 2023? If we can do it sooner, great. But just, I think the way we're tracking, that's more realistic. And to graduate athletes to the Canadian ski team with the potential to win at the highest level. And I had my first meeting with Therese Brisson. She's the new president of Alpine Canada. She was telling me that her mandate from her board is to get the house in order, raise money, and win. And she mentioned that the culture is often just to have athletes want to make the team, not to succeed at the highest level. And they really want to change that culture. And so this is why, for us, if we want to deliver athletes to their team with those tools and that mentality, we need to look at, trying to achieve athletes that are among the best in the world by the time they're 19, 20 years old. That's not to say that everyone will do that. And I'm sure that some of you really are not interested in that for your son or daughter. But the important thing is that we can provide the programming and the vehicle to do that. And so if we want a 19, 20-year-old athlete, we need to walk back 8 years, probably more, but at least in our control, about 8 years, and what steps do we need to put in place. So we've started to do that, but obviously, we'll have some challenges this year. And I wish I had more information about what exactly we're to do. And we probably need to give opportunity for athletes to show what they can do. And hopefully the racing over the coming weeks takes place. At least we have that. But what are we looking for? We're looking for athletes that are skilled, that are physically fit, that are committed, that are dedicated to the sport. They don't tend to arrive with that at 16 years old. So we need to help them develop all of that. And, in all of our learning with working with sports psychologists is whether they end up winning or not, it's the effort to do it that really develops all those great traits that I think you as parents are probably interested in. And, and just the ability to focus, the ability to overcome challenge. This is, going to be a big push for us. And we look at our plan. Is there another?
Your internet is
Yeah, you're freezing up and sort of
fading.
stalling
So this
there every once in a while, Kip.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm in the middle of nowhere. My apologies.
Go ahead.
So programming, our U19 programming, we're deciding a little bit on how we're going to do this, but essentially, athletes that are on the track to the Ontario ski team should be skiing about 120 days. They should be training year round. Our U19 high performance program, has sports science, sports medicine support from Canadian Sports Institute. It should be available to all athletes of a certain caliber in the province. And then the Ontario ski team, it steps up quite a bit with 135 days on snow, year-round programming, and so on. The benchmark events for U19 that we look at are largely O Cup, Quebec racing, some national races, and international races. I think that part is pretty straightforward. And so for the remainder of the season, we are going to try to start racing soon. We still encourage everyone to take the time to train properly, which means the continued focus on skill development, not trying to jump ahead to, just straight up a pile of gates all the time. I think that with our plan for racing, that would be, like next week will be 1 day per gender with 2 races each. That should allow time for school and also training. So we know that we can't pack a full season into a month or a month and a half, but we will do our best. And we also will probably look to have some form of selection camps in April for each level. I know that knowing sooner is better, so we will definitely work to get something on the books very soon. Questions, comments?
If anyone wants to unmute themselves, ask a question, or type it in the chat, we're happy to take any questions. We've got quite a few of the coaches on the line too. So if you have any questions.
Kip. Sorry, Greg Clark.
Hi.
Sorry, did I just hear you say you thought we'd be racing as early as next week?
FIS racing, yes.
Oh, FIS racing. Okay. I was like, what? Okay.
Sorry, didn't mean to alarm you. That would have been a pretty big turnaround from last night's call.
Oh, we're doing a really big turnaround. Thank you.
Welcome. Glad you asked.
Glad we could clarify. Yeah. No questions? That'll be a first for us if there's no questions or comments at all.
I have one question just with regards to, it's not Sarah Morgenstern, it's Mr. Morgenstern, but just with regards to my understanding is there's often a fall off, kids exiting U16, moving up to U19. They may come for a year, not everybody stays. Do you have any thoughts of what next year might look like because of a bit of a missed year for some of that kids? Do you expect some of them just to drop right out and not even do the single year? Do you expect a double cohort? Any thoughts early on at this stage?
Well, that's a great question. We've done a lot of looking at this and sharing with other sports, and this drop off is consistent across all sports. So actually, they tend to stay a little longer in ski racing just because of the age change. A lot of kids leave hockey and other sports the previous year, like in going into their first year of high school. We are very concerned about people leaving the sport, and we want to try to help facilitate. I mean, the high performance programs themselves cannot be the landing, just by nature, the nature of them can't be the landing place for everyone. But we definitely want to work with the clubs and try to find ways to make sure there's opportunity and people are encouraged to continue. It's a great question and definitely a concern.
Okay, Bebe here. Question, you say it's gonna be limited the number of racers for these races? How are you gonna select these limited numbers?
All Ontario racers with a FIS card we're including. We're just not inviting anyone from out of province.
Yeah, I have some athletes, they didn't buy a FIS card because they didn't know they're gonna race. Hopefully they're gonna buy. I know, but there's I asked, actually I sent an email to Robin. I don't know if Robin, you have that. There's 3 different cards. One is a local, the one is a regional, the third one is national, international.
Yeah,
Is
it's
it
just national.
local?
It's just let national and international, baby. So national would make the most sense for your athletes, I would imagine, unless you're planning on doing anything out of country that we're not aware
No,
of.
is there any local one, cheap one?
No, there's no provincial FIS card. No.
Is there something changed? It was
Yeah.
always like that.
Yeah, ACA eliminated it at the beginning of this season.
It's quite expensive, isn't it?
It's for an entire year.
Wow. Should be some kind of common sense, especially this year.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's been no plan to reduce fees, and we've had athletes registered for FIS since July, so it's not gonna change, unfortunately, baby.
Yeah, because you got 22 athletes, and out of 22, half of them didn't buy FIS card because they didn't know it's gonna be racing, and then they're gonna pay a full pop for maybe just 10 races, maybe. Okay.
Why don't you get? Why don't Suki? I thought Suki was gonna get back to you, but feel free to give me a call tomorrow, baby, and we can chat about it.
Yeah, I got 6, 7 parents asking me the same question, so I didn't know. I didn't have an answer. All right. Thank you.
I think it is unfortunate, baby. It's but whether people bought their FIS card in July or they buy it this week, it's the same, and people have had, the same number of starts. So, well, 0.
But should be some kind of common sense and flexibility. We try to keep them in the game, not push them out. So anyway, it's okay. I'll let them know. So that's what it is.
Yeah, I would say 85% of the fee is an ACA fee. So we have absolutely zero control over that, and quite a bit of it goes to FIS. So we have no control over 85% of that cost. But give me a call, baby, and we can chat about it. But there's unfortunately not a lot of flexibility when it comes to
that. Alex, this presentation will be made available. You can see it. Michael, thanks very much for offering. The model of most FIS races, or races in general right now, is because of the limited number of people we can have on the hill. The coaches will essentially be the course crew. But thanks very much. And then Mark, I think your club is always a good resource, but feel free to reach out to us as well. Our email addresses are on the website. You can reach out to Robin or myself, depending on the nature of your question, and we're happy to answer whatever we can.
Janet asked if a U16 athlete trains this summer until December with another outside of province club. When they return, do they need to affiliate with a coach club to race with AOA? Or are they purely registered as FIS? So registration for like where your registration is valid up until June of 30th this year, and then the new registration year starts July 1. So if you're doing any training in the summer come July, you'll need to be registered somewhere. So you'll need to pick a home at that point. So if you're going to be training outside of the province, you just need to make a decision whether or not you want to race with Ontario next year or you want to race with another province, because quota issues will be a part of it. So it's a bit of a loaded question, but if you're talking FIS, that's also relevant what province you register your FIS license in as well, not just U16 athletes. I think I'm answering your question, Janet. So I assume it's a graduating U16 athlete into FIS. Where you register your FIS card does have bearing on quota for races. So it's a relevant discussion to have what's most appropriate.
Shortail raised his hand.
What was that, Kip?
I just saw a gentleman had raised his hand. I've lost track of it. So please.
Hi there.
Go ahead.
I want to ask you, did you guys ever consider extending OCAP to go all the way to U18?
Are you talking about national point races?
No, we're talking, do you know how we have OCAP and goes here up until U16? And after that, it's a big question what the kids are doing. Do they just quit the sport or do we go to FIS? Why can't we use all the clubs that we have at the escarpment, which are literally 2 minutes away from each other, and just extend the OCAP up until U18?
There is a lot of programs, just depends on the club, that will take athletes and just infuse them into their U16 programming and race them in SOD OCUP. So that's an option post U16 if FIS racing isn't of interest. There are some clubs that do that. And I think a lot of it has to do with volume of athletes. We have so little past U16. Sometimes it's just not viable to have 2 different programs. So some clubs will only offer one, but some clubs do that. So during the SOD Cup series, obviously not this year, but the year before, U19 athletes raced in that series with U16 athletes. So
Robin, I understand that. I was in a meeting 5 years ago, and then there were like 30 coaches there, and each of them was scratching their hairs. What we doing with all these kids? Why they're quitting after U16? And I think it's time which there should be one crazy person who should start from somewhere, changing the mindset of people that the kids should stay longer, not only stay longer after U16. And we have a great opportunity here, having 6 or 7 clubs within 2 minutes away. They can compete week in and out without parents spending tons of money on traveling and hotels. Why can't we just start changing the mindset of all the racers? And it has to start from somewhere.
Thank you, Deutscho. I think it's a broader question, and I don't know if we're going to solve it. I really appreciate your comments, and it's a great point. I don't know if we're going to solve it today on this call. But thank you for bringing that up.
No, Kip, I don't know. We talk about. I'm not sure if you remember. We talked about it like 4 years ago, and then we having exactly the same conversation, and nothing's really changed, to be honest with you. And I know we're not going to solve it overnight, and a lot to do with the actual culture of where we live in. You travel a lot, and you can compare our culture to the rest of the world, and I'm sure you don't like it.
Yeah, no, I read that much, and yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying, and it's a good point. But as I said, I don't I don't think we're going to solve it on this call, but it's definitely something that bears more discussion.
So when can we have more discussion? When can we really sit and we talk and maybe get a lot more parents and more coaches and to see how they feel about it, and then what can we actually do to change that?
Stoicho, I appreciate it, but right now we haven't raced all year, and
Yeah.
we're struggling to even do what we've done like in the past. So yeah, I can't exactly say when we'll have that conversation.
Yeah.
Sometime in the near future. I think, you know, a good way to bring it up is through your club also, because essentially that level of racing really, you know, requires club support.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. There are some questions about the Ontario ski team. I can't say exactly. I mean, if an athlete is out of province, if they're of a suitable level, would they be able to be looked at? I would say yes. We'll have to decide exactly how we're doing this. You know, we have a process that likely won't change, which is to identify athletes into a training group for the Ontario ski team, and then that process through the summer allows us to take a better look. But yes, I mean, we usually, the thing we do first is have a physical assessment and physical testing and an on-snow evaluation camp. Then we name a training group. So yes, in answer to your question, Michael, there will need to be some sort of physical testing. And with about the U19 high performance program, that is not a new thing. That has been around for 3 years. This year it was largely dormant because basically it's there to enhance the regional programs, and so they need to ski with the regional programs first. So we offer the conditioning, which is essentially the same conditioning program as the Ontario ski team, but we have not had any U19 high performance on snow camps this year. We'll see if we can do some things in the coming month for athletes that are around, but we are evaluating what we can do with that program this year. It's just because it's in cooperation with clubs. It's hard enough for the clubs in regions and academies to ski, let alone add a layer on top of that. So we'll have to see how we manage that moving into next year. Anyone else? Did I miss any questions?
Yeah, there's a few here.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Hi,
Yeah.
hi guys. This is Ed and Road Quirk from Ottawa.
Hi, Ed. Hi, Road.
Yeah, we're just in the car coming back from the hill. Just a quick question, and I'm not sure if it's. I'm sure we haven't heard yet, but just with some of the athletes from other provinces. I mean, I first of all, I just want to acknowledge the fact and just appreciate your hard work for getting us on some racing in the near future, which is great. I understand that it hasn't been easy for anyone this year, including the athletes more specifically. But just wondering if there's been any talk about freezing the FIS points for some of the athletes that won't be able to race in official races, or because I know that there's been Ontario athletes spread across, especially Utah and Colorado and then in Europe and stuff. There's been some varsity athletes that have been just off the Ontario team on both the women's and men's side, and just wondering if there's been talk about at the FIS level of freezing points for the year, or what?
Yes.
What do you guys know?
Yes, there is. They don't freeze the points, but the base list
Stays the base, yeah.
Yeah, it stays where it is.
But you have to be
Okay.
registered. You have to
So
be you have to be registered as a FIS athlete for that to take effect. Some people may just decide not to register because they're not racing, but you actually have to be registered for that to be valid.
Yeah. Well, most of the varsity athletes that were registered this, they were thinking they're going to race this year too on both, on different circuits and stuff. But okay, that's great. Thank you.
So Robin, can we clarify that then? What you're saying or what you said is that you have to pay your $500 to have a FIS card to have your points frozen, right? To Bebe's earlier issue?
Yes, that's right.
Because in many
And
ways, to Bebe's earlier
be
point,
accurate,
we could have
sorry
an
to interrupt, to be
Ontario race.
accurate with it, points aren't being frozen. There's not going to be a penalization.
Right.
That could be a drop. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's unfortunate because to Bebe's earlier point, if there was an across the board leaving everyone at the base level, then we could be racing all those kids and not forcing everyone to pay $500, have an Ontario series of races for our athletes versus forcing them to pay $500 and for FIS points.
Well, unfortunately, this is a FIS, Alpine Ontario.
I know it's FIS, but we could just have Ontario races too.
Yeah,
not FIS races, right? And not worry about points. But it's just unfortunate because you do see these marginal kids, and as you guys know, I have several of them, or two of them anyway, that aren't going to race, and they're going to not race next year because of this, and they're out $500. But anyway, it's unfortunate that I would think some thought should be given to the concept of just having the race and bringing out Phil Brown and we can use it as an evaluation tool. We can use it for experience, use everything. And yes, they don't get FIS points, but so what?
I think we also need to remember that if an athlete doesn't have a FIS card, they're not insured, which is a major piece. And I can tell you this year, having raced around the world so far and trained around the world, I think we want the insurance.
Yeah.
And that's the most significant part of any of these FIS cards is the insurance that's mandated to be in place by FIS. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a big challenge.
And just to clear from my end, I want a FIS point, so it's not, I don't want a FIS point. That's the reason why we're training. But you're right, Cam, it's a lot of money goes to insurance, but if we stay locally, I thought maybe there's a kind of room to lower it. If not, yeah, that's all I could do. Yeah. But definitely I want a FIS point. I'm more concerned losing any of the athletes because of not registering enough. I don't know how long it takes to process the FIS card. Is it a week or so? We don't know.
It can be pretty quick.
Is it? Okay.
Couple of days. Yeah, like if you get your kids to register, we can get them sorted before the races. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I mean, I hope it all comes off, but the good part of this story is we might have some races.
Oh, perfect. Can you answer this one? That was once 2-3 years ago. We had talking about UFT staying in Ontario education. Any movement there?
Well, I can say a little bit about that. The problem is nobody wanted to take part in the program. There was a lot of effort to provide a program through U of T, but the reality was that athletes wanted to go to the schools of their choosing. So I don't think that if memory serves, U of T was all that thrilled, but by the way it worked out, and it was a lot of effort toward one school. But there are more and more options with universities. The University of Calgary is developing a stronger team. It's not NCAA racing. I don't think it's a great pathway to the national ski team, but it is it's a good way to keep racing and receive an education.
Yeah, we are working on UBC Okanagan because I'm part of that Master of Coaching program. So yeah, so there is an initiative for UBC at Okanagan to have a ski team as well. So there's another option. If it doesn't happen this year, it may happen for sure next year. So Ollie Blake, who's Ontario boy, he took up on the challenge. So hopefully we'll. And there's Marty Nadelsky, who is coordinating athletics at Okanagan. So hopefully we'll have something soon. So it's our athletes who want to continue racing, they can go on those two universities. But you're right, the UC is it's looking pretty good, and there is hope for these athletes to continue race. Yeah.
Well, and baby, as you know, my son Jack is captain at McGill. I know that Gwenny Diamond, Jack, a number of the athletes have reached out to Ontario athletes, and McGill is giving, slightly lower bar for entrance relating to marks. There are scholarships available. The Quebec circuit's in some degree a challenge, but McGill's still trying to put together a competitive full varsity. It is a full varsity sport. This team, you do end up on the principal's honor roll for as a student athlete. There's a separate athlete and award system for student athletes at McGill. So there's a lot of justifications for that one.
Oh, awesome. There you go.
Yeah.
They should probably send us something so I can share with my athletes. We have 20 athletes in our team, so that'll be nice.
I'll get Jack to reach out to you, baby. He's back next week when McGill's March break.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Thank you.
Does anybody have any other questions or any that we missed in the chat? I popped up our contact information there on that last slide, so please feel free to reach out. If you do have any questions, we've recorded this session like I mentioned, so we'll post it on our event calendar and our YouTube channel. So if you missed the beginning, you can tune in. And as I mentioned, we're planning on having these sessions again in March to be able to share, what we're going to be doing with the programs in April moving forward, when hopefully we'll have a little bit more information. But to Kip's point, we're just trying to get some programming going on Hill right now and some potential for competition to round out the year. So that's our main focus right now. So we appreciate you guys taking the time to hear what our current plans are and where we're moving, and sort of the state of our sport in Ontario with COVID and everything that it's given us. But I hope everyone is staying safe and enjoying being back out on the hill across the province, wherever you are, and enjoying what we all love to do. I'll stick around. I'm sure Kip will stick around, and any of the coaches will stick around for another minute or so if anyone has any other specific questions. But really do appreciate your time and feedback. We'll take note of some of the comments in the chat for sure. And we look forward to our next meeting with everybody. So thanks again for your time, and have a good rest of your Tuesday.